Elon Musk, the billionaire behind Tesla and SpaceX, is known for his wild ideas. But one day, he decided to do something completely unexpected. He wanted to test how banks treat people who seem poor. To do this, he came up with a plan. He would disguise himself as a homeless man. No fancy suit, no bodyguards, just an old hoodie, dirty jeans, and worn-out sneakers. His beard was grown out and his hair was messy. He looked nothing like the billionaire the world knew. But why was he doing this? Elon had heard stories of banks treating wealthy customers with respect while ignoring or mistreating those who appeared poor. He wanted to see if these stories were true, and he wanted to see if kindness still existed in the world of money. So, early one morning, with a hidden camera on him, Elon walked into a large, well-known bank. At first, no one noticed him. The security guard at the entrance barely glanced at him. The people in line stepped away, as if he smelled bad. It was clear. No one expected anything from him. When he finally reached the counter, he cleared his throat. "Excuse me, sir. I'd like to open an account." The bank teller, a middle-aged man with a sharp suit, looked up. His smile faded the moment he saw Elon's ragged clothes. "Do you have any money to deposit?" the teller asked, his voice cold. Elon reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wad of cash. It wasn't much, just a few $100s. The teller sighed. "I'm not sure this is the right bank for you. Maybe you should try a smaller one?" Elon raised an eyebrow. "Why? Don't you help all customers?" The teller forced a smile. "Of course. But our bank usually deals with larger accounts." At that moment, Elon realized something painful. It wasn't just about money. It was about perception. The way he looked made people assume he wasn't important. But then, something unexpected happened. Elon stood at the counter, his hands resting on the worn-out hoodie he was wearing. He could feel the judgment in the teller's eyes. The man sighed again, clearly wanting to move on to the next customer. "Look, sir," the teller said, lowering his voice. "This bank is for serious clients. People with real investments, you know?" Elon tilted his head. "So I'm not a serious client just because I don't look rich?" The teller chuckled, but it wasn't a kind laugh. "That's not what I said. But you don't seem like someone who belongs here." At that moment, Elon felt something deep inside him. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even frustration. It was disappointment. How many others had been turned away like this? How many people, just because they didn't look successful, had been treated like they didn't matter? But before Elon could respond, something unexpected happened. A young woman, another bank employee, had been watching from a distance. She walked over, her eyes full of concern. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, looking between Elon and the teller. The teller smirked. "Not really. I was just explaining that our bank may not be the best fit for him." The woman's expression changed. She looked at Elon again, but not with judgment. She looked at him like a human being. "Sir, if you'd like to open an account, I'd be happy to help you," she said warmly. Elon smiled, nodding. The teller rolled his eyes, but he didn't argue. The young woman led Elon to her desk, treating him with the same kindness she would show any other customer. "I just need some basic information," she said. "What's your name?" Elon hesitated for a moment. Then he answered truthfully. Elon Musk." She laughed softly. "That's funny. Like the billionaire?" Elon grinned. "Yeah, just like him." She continued filling out the form. She didn't treat him any differently than before. She didn't mock him or dismiss him. And that's when Elon knew. She was different. She saw people, not just their money, but the real test wasn't over yet. Elon sat at the desk as the young woman filled out the paperwork. She treated him like any other customer, asking polite questions and explaining the details with patience. Meanwhile, the teller who had dismissed him earlier stood at his counter, still smirking, still watching. "All right, Mr. Elon," the woman said, handing him a pen. Just sign here, and we can set up your account. Elon reached for the pen, but before he could sign, something unexpected happened. A manager, an older man in a sleek navy suit, walked over. His eyes flickered between Elon and the young woman. "What's going on here?" he asked, his tone sharp. "I'm helping this gentleman open an account," she replied calmly. The manager's eyebrows furrowed. "Do you know our minimum balance requirements? We don't usually open accounts for customers like this." There it was again, that assumption, that judgment. The young woman hesitated, but before she could answer, Elon spoke up. "What if I wanted to deposit a large amount?" he asked, his voice even. The manager chuckled, shaking his head. "Sir, with all due respect, we don't deal in pocket change." Elon leaned back in his chair. He took a deep breath. Then he reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out his phone. With a few taps, he pulled up a number. A staggering number. He turned the screen toward them. It was his bank balance. Billions. The young woman gasped. The manager's face went pale. Even the rude teller at the counter leaned forward, his smirk disappearing instantly. Elon placed the phone on the table and crossed his arms. "Now tell me," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Do you still think I don't belong here?" Silence filled the room. The manager cleared his throat. "Mr. Musk, I had no idea." Elon held up a hand. "That's the problem. You shouldn't treat people differently based on how they look. Today, I'm dressed like this. But what if I were someone who really needed help? Someone struggling to open a simple account? Would you turn them away too?" The manager looked down, ashamed. The rude teller suddenly busied himself with paperwork, avoiding eye contact. But the young woman? She sat there, her expression unchanged. She had treated him with respect from the start, without knowing who he was. Elon turned to her and smiled. "Thank you for being kind. People like you give me hope." Then he did something that no one expected. He looked at the manager and said, "I want to make a deposit, $10 million, but only if she handles my account." The young woman's eyes widened. The manager stammered, "Of course, Mr. Musk, right away." Elon smiled, then looked at the rude teller one last time. "Next time, don't judge a book by its cover." And with that, he finalized his deposit. By the end of the day, the young woman was promoted. The rude teller? Well, let's just say he learned a very valuable lesson. And Elon Musk? He left the bank knowing he had proven a point. Kindness should never depend on wealth. Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves respect. What do you think? Would you have treated Elon differently? Let us know in the comments. And remember, kindness doesn't cost a thing, but it can change everything.